Good morning. Glad you're here. I got my very first internet troll comment on one of these videos a few days ago. But more on that in a few minutes. I'd like to share a story with you. Story time. Most of you on Facebook know that I rescued or adopted a couple of Labrador retrievers about 2.5 years ago. And unfortunately, back in August, I had to have Ike put down. He was almost 13 years old, but he could not move anymore. And ever since then, ever since August, I have brought Ruby Red, Ruby Girl, out on my morning adventures. Anytime I come out on the weekends to photograph wildlife, she wants to come along. And she's a great companion. She'll ride along with me and kind of, checks everything out. She rides shotgun. But the moment that I pull over because I see a bald eagle or whatever it is that I want to photograph, I'll get out of the truck and she'll just simply lay down and she'll wait for me. Well, going through some of the files that I had gotten when I adopted the dogs, I learned that the previous owner spent $5,000 to $6,000 on each dog to have them professionally trained to learn how to hunt. Apparently he was a big hunter, and they both have a shoebox full of ribbons that they won and newspaper clippings when they were in the newspaper for competitions and stuff. But anyway, so Ruby will, I'll get out of the truck and I'll be gone, not gone. She can see me if she wants, but I'll be out of the truck for, sometimes an hour. And she'll just lay down and she'll wait for me. And then I'll come back to the truck. She stays laying down. She'll look at me. And she doesn't pop back up until I put the truck in drive, and then she'll pop up. And then we're off. But I got to thinking. I'm like, the old man probably took them out hunting. They would lay down, he'd shoot birds, and then he would release them and they'd go off and retrieve the birds. She has got to think that I am the absolute worst hunter in the world. She sees me break out the big gun. She sees me doing whatever I'm doing with the big gun. And then I get in the truck and we go. She never gets to retrieve. So in her eye, I'm probably just a terrible hunter. But she only knows part of the story. Much like I only know part of her story. And much like we only know a part of anybody's story. Everyone has a history and everyone is going through something. There's a guy at work that is extremely irritating in the mornings, but in a good way. He goes out of his way to tell everybody good morning, like individually, good morning, in a very joyous way. Good morning, it's good to see you, or good morning, I'm glad you're here, or whatever. And I can't help but imagine that he does that maybe because he doesn't know what someone else is going through, and maybe he wants to bring some joy to someone. Or perhaps he does that because he almost didn't make it. We only know part of anybody's story. We only see the smile. Everyone's fighting a battle that we don't tell anybody about. The jackass in the Audi that cut you off in traffic. Maybe he's not a jackass. Well, he's driving an Audi. He's probably a jackass. But, maybe he is headed to a family emergency. Again, we only know part of the story. So I got a comment on one of these videos. It was kind of, I would say it's like a troll-like comment. And it was something to the effect of, "It's not working for you, pal. We need more than sipping coffee and pseudo positivity." I don't think it said we. It just said, something to the fact is, it's not working for me. And when I started doing these videos, I've been doing these about 3 months, ever since my brother's suicide. And my goal, I don't know if it's my goal, but I felt convicted to try to do something. A mental health crisis is lost about every 40 seconds. And I felt convicted to attempt to do what I can to bring that number down. So, you, sir, are out of order. It is working for me. You only know part of the story. You don't know that I almost didn't make it here. You don't know what I went through and what I've lost. I could have called it Bourbon with the Bearded Badass, but I had to give up the bottle. And I only know half of the story. Maybe he was having a bad day. Maybe he drives an Audi. Or maybe his wife left him for some good-looking guy that looks like me, that's a bearded coffee connoisseur that takes nice photos. I only know half the story. Actually, I don't even know half. I just know part of the story. I say all of that simply to say that everybody is going through something. And if you're going through it, I want you to know that you're not alone. Someone else is struggling too. And if perhaps you're not struggling, you're not going through anything, maybe try helping someone else out. That's what we're supposed to do. Don't be a troll. Hey, I'm all about positive feedback. I've sent these videos to many people asking, "Hey, give me some feedback. Give me some feedback, dude." But it is working for me. It may not be working for you, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. You don't have to like what I do. If I'm being honest, I don't like 98% of these. But it's not about me. So try to help someone out. Check in on your people. Don't be a troll. And I'll see you tomorrow.